Yeah, sure, let's go with that. Hi, I'm Sock Marionette, also known as Bargain Counter Argument, under which name I am available on Instagram. I'm a middle-aged lady in a tiara talking about books, libraries, and related issues. Now, I'm kind of having one of those days where it's a bit of a struggle to get going. I kind of did a lot yesterday. I slept reasonably well, but I'm tired and I'm trying to get myself motivated. So I have put on the tiara, I did some makeup, but I'm still in my nightie. Maybe that'll change, maybe it won't. It's not going to change. I'm recording this morning because I do these periodic, what I call book unhauls, and they're book unhauls basically because I am returning the books to the library. And so I'm doing this because I'm hoping I'll get some energy together to go out and do some errands later today. I don't have to if I don't want to, which is a great place to be in. However, I do want to go ahead and record this video so that I can, record the video and then I can return the books later today or tomorrow or even Saturday. I'm hoping it's today, but if it's not, no big deal. I'll have recorded the video, so I don't need to worry about it anymore. Now, I'm going to start off with one that is kind of a relatively new release by a popular author. And I was talking about it in a live stream with Mama Needs to Read Romance. And I believe it was in the Wake Up to Romance live stream that she does most Tuesdays and Fridays, starting at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. And she frequently interviews writers and other YouTubers and so on. And it's a good time. And I mentioned that I was reading Deep End by Ali Hazelwood with a buddy, Ana's Books and Budgets. And B said, "Ooh, I want to know what you think of that." She said, "People are going to want to know." And I was like, okay, sure, you bet, why not? So I'm going to lead off with this one. So if you're here for the Deep End thoughts, my deep thoughts on Deep End, well, they're not that deep. I'm going to do that up front. I'm going to do the non-spoilery. And then I will come back and do the spoilery bit at the end. I'll put timestamps on there so that you can find that if all you care about is hearing one more person's opinion about Deep End. Again, this was a buddy read with Ana's Books and Budgets, and I liked it, and it was well written because that's how Ali Hazelwood does. The banter was good, the emotions were good, and I think the conflicts were, for the most part, not that frustrating. I mean, they were a little frustrating, but it wasn't because the writing wasn't there. It's just because the characters are 21, 22 and acting like they're 21, 22. So, it's not that they're immature exactly. It's just that they don't have as much life experience to draw on. And so they're figuring it out because it is basically a new adult romance. It's a kinky new adult romance. And they are, like I said, 21, 22. So they're not children by any stretch of the imagination. One of them is a senior at Stanford and the other one is a junior at Stanford, and they're both high achievers. Lucas, the dude, is already an Olympian, has medaled in the Olympics in swimming, and Vandy, her name is Scarlett Vandermeer, and almost everybody calls her Vandy except of course Lucas, who calls her Scarlett, and that's special. She is a junior. They're both pre-med at Stanford, and she's a junior, and she's a diver, like a platform and springboard, 3-meter and 10-meter platform. And she's coming off of an injury, and so she's got the yips, she's got the athletic jitters, kind of. And so she's trying to get over that, and they're both kinky, but they haven't been in a kinky relationship. His girlfriend is Penn, who is another diver. She kind of tolerates the kinkiness to a degree, or they just don't do kinky things because she's not into it. And Vandy, Scarlett, is coming off of a relationship she had with her high school boyfriend. So it's kind of a long-term relationship, and he was not into the kinky things either. So when Vandy and Lucas get together, it's kind of like a friends with kinky benefits kind of situation at first. So it's the first time any one of them have had a kinky partner like on the regular. And that's where the story that's where the story starts, and that's the first 25% or so of the story, and things go on from there. And I will talk about this with spoilers, like I said, at the end of the video. So if you want to hear more, that's where it's going to be. Meanwhile, I have some other returns to talk about. I have Something Spectacular, which is queer romance. They're non-binary or gender fluid / non-binary, and she uses female pronouns. So she was born female, assigned female at birth. But she does enjoy some gender play as well. As you can see by her clothes, she does frequently feel like, she'd like to be in less encumbering clothing and maybe take a more what her society sees as masculine role, because this is a regency. So anyway, this is the sequel to Something Fabulous, which I read and returned to the library a few weeks ago. I enjoyed this one. And then the third book in the trilogy is Something Extraordinary, which is about a woman who is aromantic and isn't really what we would call aromantic. She doesn't know what to do, how to describe that, what that means for her. She thinks she's deficient. And so it's coming to realization that she's not. And she ends up going into kind of a marriage of convenience with this guy. And he's gay, but, they are very platonically into one another, and maybe more, but not physically necessarily, beyond cuddling, which they do enthusiastically. Both of these books, plus Something Fabulous, I really liked all three of them. And you could say that the character in this one, Arabella, the characters carry through the books, but Arabella has really the one who's had, you get to see her in the first two books growing and changing and evolving as a person and as a friend. And then that kind of reaches its culmination in this book. These books are cheerfully anachronistic. This book is kind of partially a road trip, and they have a guy who's basically invented Yelp, but without the internet. It's fun. Also a fun historical romance. This one is male, female, everybody's cisgender and everything. 9 Rules to Break When Romancing a Rake. And this is about Lady Calpurnia, who is getting up into her late 20s, and she's never married. And she's thinking maybe she wants to do some of the things she's always been told are rules that she can't break. And so she wants to go into male spaces, and she wants to do things that, it's not just like going into a bar or a tavern and drinking brandy, which women wouldn't do unless they were of questionable virtue, which she's not. Or wanting to fence as a man, or participate in, or at least attend a duel, that kind of thing. She is, she also wants to kiss somebody and maybe have some kind of affair, if not all and out affair, but have some more experiences that she's kind of been forbidden from. And she's like, I'm 28, 29, why not live it up? And so this is what she does. She breaks 9 rules and ends up romancing a rake. And this is a library copy, and it is a step back. Ooh, that's so pretty. And I like that the library, this is a reinforced cover. This is a very well-loved book from the library. And they reinforced here with this white tape. And they had to do that because the step back is coming out. So they did that. Without that, the step back would be completely gone. But I like the way it kind of looks like it's censoring what's going on with his hand on her hip or upper thigh. And it looks like it's censoring something that's probably naughtier than it really is. Also in the historical romance department, Regency, because everything's a Regency. Much Ado About You by Eloisa James. This was another buddy read with my friend Nicole. And it was okay. I'm not totally entranced with it. Nicole did some research, and she found an interview with Eloisa James, who was explaining that she would recommend, if people are starting with her books, that they maybe start with Desperate Duchesses or a couple of other books, and not necessarily this one, although it is the first book of the Essex Sisters Quartet. There's a Little Women influence and Shakespeare influence, and it was okay. It's not my favorite thing I read this year, but I will probably read more from Eloisa James in general, and probably even more from the Essex Sisters Quartet, because I'm kind of curious as to what happens to the Essex Sisters who are in this book but don't have their romances yet. Okay, and moving forward to contemporary romance with a twist. Scythe Sparrow, the third book in the Ruinous Love trilogy by Brynne Weaver. So serial killers in love, and I liked the first book, Butcher and Blackbird. The Leather and Lark was okay. I finished it. I wasn't super into it, but I was still wanted to read the third book, and this is much better than the second one. So I wouldn't go. I might even go so far as to say I liked it a smidge bit better than the first one. I'm not sure. I just like the couple in here. This is Rose, and I can't remember his name. Fionn. I liked them, and I liked their character journeys. So, yeah. If you got bogged down in or disappointed in Leather and Lark, you might still enjoy this one. Like I said, I liked it better. And another contemporary romance, Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. This is part of her, I think it's going to be a 4-book series. It's the, what is it called? Rose Hill series. They're all single dads in this series. And so I read the first one, which was Wild Love. It was good. I read Wild Eyes. I liked it a little bit better, but they're both good. So yeah, no complaints there. I think that's all of the library books I have out. I have a bonus library book, though. On Saturday, this is Thursday, April 10th. Yeah, sure, let's go with that. On Saturday, the 5th, was the 149th birthday of my hometown library. And so they had people, they had cake, and they had books that they were giving away. Now, by the time I got there, the cake was gone. They did not order a very large cake. I saw pictures of it on Instagram, and it was a very nice looking cake, but it wasn't super big. And there were a lot of children there. So, they got cake, which is good for them. And they were also giving away free books. And they had, I think it was 8 or 10 books to choose from. I think it was 6 novels and 4 nonfiction, or maybe it was 4 of each. I don't remember exactly. Most of them were books I either wasn't interested in or had already read, including the one that I ended up getting, which was Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, which I read several months ago. I read it last summer, and I liked it. I brought it home, and my mother looked it up on Goodreads and decided that she was interested in reading it because there was a copy just sitting around. So she read it, and she says, well, she hardly ever reads romance. Just not really a genre for her. I mean, she'll read stories that have love stories, but not necessarily like genre romance. I mean, this is, yeah. And she said she was enjoying it. She's like, it was this lighthearted comedy, rom-com kind of thing. And I was enjoying it. And she says, all of a sudden, it takes a turn and it gets really heavy. And I'm like, yeah, Abby Jimenez does that. And she had a little bit of an issue with the ending, but she says overall it was a good experience. And she said, I told her it's like the 3rd book in a series, but they're standalones, basically. And she said it wasn't until she got to the end of the book that she was like, oh, maybe I wish I had read the first book or 2. Anyway, so that was how she felt about this. And I am probably going to pass this along. I'm either going to take it to a used bookstore or send it along to a friend who hasn't read it and wants a copy of it. So we shall see what happens with that. Now, okay, so that was, those are my library returns, and thank you for your attention. And if you like what I do, what you saw here, there's a whole playlist of other library returns, book unhauls, and you can like, comment, share, subscribe, or don't. I'm not the boss of you. And I am going to now get into the spoilery thoughts on Deep End, but if you are bailing on this video before I do that, I hope you have a good day or night. Okay, my spoiler fiends, this is what I felt like with this book. Okay, they embark on this kinky relationship, and her best friend, his ex-girlfriend, Pen, first off, she wants to keep it a secret that they've broken up. She suggests that they get together because she knows they have compatible sexual interests. And when they do, though, she still wants them to not let anybody know that they're having a relationship. Well, she doesn't think that the friend doesn't think that they're having a relationship. She thinks they're hooking up and that's all there is to it. And she thinks that eventually she and Lucas are going to get back together again. But of course, Lucas falls for Vandy and Vandy falls for Lucas. And Pen, the friend, Penelope, is kind of a little bit delusional about what's going on, and she's deluding herself. And also they don't sit down and talk to her, which again, they're in their early 20s. They don't have a lot of experience with this kind of thing, and they've focused so much on sports and academics that maybe their personal lives their emotional lives have taken a hit. And they also have past trauma. Vandy's father was abusive, so abusive that her stepmother ended up getting custody of her, which worked out well for them. But, the fact that her biological father didn't get custody indicates just how bad it was with him. And Lucas's mom died when he was at a competition, at a swimming competition. He feels guilty about that. And of course, devastated that he lost his mom, but kind of guilty because he was off doing swimming things when she died. So there is that. One thing that I thought is very true to life, and this is not because they're younger people. I've seen this with older people in the community, in the kink community, which is the way people practice kink, at least when they do it safely, is that they sit down and they negotiate expectations and what they don't want to do, what they do want to do, what they're okay with trying out, and negotiating expectations and safety concerns and all of these things, all of these negotiations. And they frequently are overly focused on the specific activities of kink, or even the power exchange dynamics of kink. They don't really necessarily get into emotional expectations. And that is something that happens in this book. And it is presented as an issue. It's not, Ellie Hazelwood knows it's a problem, and eventually so do the characters. And that is, I liked that because I think that was very realistic for these kinds of negotiated relationships. And again, this is not because they're young or inexperienced. This is something I have seen much older people in the kink community doing, is super hyper negotiating the physical stuff and just completely neglecting the emotional stuff. And people get into trouble with that. It causes problems. So I really appreciated that she did it that way. And I did get a little frustrated with the characters, but like I said, the things that they were doing and saying and the way that they were handling their relationships was very much like, oh yes, these people are in their 20s. They don't have a lot of life experience yet. Again, this isn't anything about them that is emotionally immature. It's more inexperience. And I liked that representation, that they're not acting that way because they're immature. They're acting that way because they just don't have a whole lot of experience with relationships. And I thought that I really appreciated that she did it that way. So those are my spoilery thoughts. I like this book. I think your relationship with this book, whether or not you would enjoy it, probably depends on how you feel about kink. So yeah, since you stuck around for the spoilery thoughts, you get a second. Have a good day or night.